Hey everybody, welcome back to James Draws Everything. Continuing today, drawing every country in the world's flag. You can see we're on a new page. We're also on the last page, and this will not be a full page because we've only got two more left. And if you've been paying attention, you probably know which ones we've already done, and you know which two are remaining. And I got my markers here just to kind of give you an idea what we're doing today. And basically this is the flag. It's a pretty simple one. We're doing Germany, right? Germany, you know where it is. Central Europe, home of beer, bratwurst, Nazis, all that good stuff. And yeah, this is going to be one of those episodes. So YouTube censors, hopefully they're not they don't bring the hammer down on me for this one, but we'll try to play it safe, talking about German history here. And yeah, let's get down to it. So I'm sure I'm going to have a bunch of those pesky little Wikipedia article links that the bots, the YouTube bots, automatically put up, but that's okay. That's okay. We can deal with it. We're adults here. Let's get down to the flag, and let's do a little bit of German history. So, Germany obviously goes back a very, very long time. We're not going to get into all of that. The Teutonic peoples of Germany, basically, going way back into like Roman times. If you read like Agricola and Germania by Tacitus, or is it Tacitus or Tacitus? Either way, go read that. It's a quick read. Kind of gives you an idea of what the more civilized Romans thought of the Germanic people, right? Because they were kind of like the barbarians, the primitive peoples to the north of the civilized Roman Empire. But then also, they as the Roman Empire declined, the Germanic peoples moved south, and barbarians at the gates and all that. And then the barbarians at the gates, barbarians eventually, they kind of create the new stuff, right? So as the old civilizations fall, those quote-unquote barbarians become like the new civilized peoples. And again, very, very broad strokes here with German history. Of course, it's more complicated than that. Jumping ahead a little bit, the northern German states were more Protestant, whereas the southern had more of a Catholic, Habsburg, Austrian sort of influence. Habsburg's a little bit later, but you know what I mean. So this is the rise of Martin Luther, right? Martin Luther puts his declaration up on the door against what he believes are the excesses of the Catholic Church, of the Vatican. And again, very broad strokes. That basically starts off the the conflict between Catholics and Protestants, right? Which might seem kind of that's very distant history. Catholics, Protestants mostly kind of get along today. But yeah, a lot of conflict and strife come from that schism. And Germany is kind of right in the middle of that. And when you think of Germany, right, Germany as it is today, a unified German state, it wasn't always that way, right? A lot of different kingdoms and principalities. Again, the North Protestant, the South Catholic for the most part. Jumping ahead a little bit to the 18th century, Germany kind of arrives a little bit late to unification, like the nation state, right? So the Napoleonic Wars were a big factor in shaping modern Germany, as well as the 30 Years' War, right? The 30 Years' War between Catholics and Protestants, but again, way more complicated than that. So a period of upheaval, revolutions in 1848, kind of proto-Marxist revolutions, democratic movements, workers' rights, anti-monarchy, things like that. Those are squashed, but that kind of sets the stage for what Germany is to become. All right. So, kind of at the beginning of the 19th century, France, Napoleon I, after his fall in the Congress of Vienna, there's 39 states in Germany that become codified into a German confederation. So we're not quite there yet, but the framework is being set for a unified Germany. So 1848 also, Kaiser William I, he appoints Otto von Bismarck as the minister, president of Prussia in 1862. We'll get more into Bismarck in our bonus content, simple flag. So we're going to get bonus content. And kind of brings it in the period of Grunderzeit. I hope I said that right. Bismarck, definitely a controversial figure. It's safe to say he basically is the father of Germany, and kind of enters a period of diplomacy and peace. He does try to avoid war, kind of being right in the center of Europe there. Of course, there is a war, the Franco-Prussian War, which really kind of shapes Europe going into the 20th century. So that really starts to kick off German unification. So Germany becomes, much more unified during this time because the Napoleonic Wars, as a result of the French Revolution, basically everywhere in Europe, this is happening. Italy unifies. France is now a nation state. Germany, a little bit different, right? Because you never really thought of yourself as like a German, right? Even though they all had the same language, these were different states. But now, you're a German, right? You're a German citizen. So, and with that, with those ideas, right? Kind of playing off, what happened in France during the Revolution and stuff. There's a lot more. There's a lot more like public works projects, infrastructure, things like that, to kind of really hypercharge the economy for the state, right? Not just for the local regions and the local states. So yeah, there's kind of a big welfare state that happens. We'll get into a little bit more of that when we talk about Bismarck. Germany does expand a little bit as well, so it's kind of easy to forget now. But Germany, they did have. Let me dry this off a little bit. That black looks wet. Germany did have an African empire, right, in Togoland, which is now Togo, Cameroon. They expanded into Namibia, which is kind of considered one of the first modern genocides. Germany expands into the Pacific as well, right? So German Samoa, the Germans are in Guam as well, so they're getting there, right? They get into China a little bit. So kind of at the close of the 19th century going into the 20th century, there's a triple alliance between Britain, France, and Russia. And especially with France and Russia, this is kind of seen as like I don't know if you'd call it like a diplomatic blunder, right? Because all states have to look after their own. But this kind of puts Germany on on red alert, right? Like the French and the Russians are unifying, and Germany's kind of caught in the middle. So this really heightens tensions going into World War I. We're not doing a comprehensive history of World War I here. I've given several kind of backgrounds on that in various European and other episodes I've done on this channel, so go back and watch those. Watch all my videos. Watch every single one. Alright, so let's get rid of some of these grid lines here. And yeah, so World War I, kicks off when the Austrian why am I blanking on his name? Franz Ferdinand. He's assassinated by Serbian anarchist, a Bosnian Serb, Gavrilo Princip, and Germany kind of gets dragged into that war. Germany against sort of Russia, Britain, and then France. Much later, the United States. The United States probably shouldn't have been involved in World War I, but the propaganda machine was really kind of cranking at that point in time. They'll tell you that like the Germans were conducting unrestricted submarine warfare, when that's a little bit of a stretch there, because the United States was bringing munitions on those ships. So Germany, of course, World War I, they are defeated, and at the Treaty of Versailles, this is kind of like one of the first times this really happens in Europe, because it was always seen as like kind of like gentlemanly war before, which might sound odd because war is war, but still you weren't supposed to humiliate your enemies, right, after they were defeated. So the Treaty of Versailles was seen as a humiliation against Germany, right? They were made to pay ridiculous amounts of reparations that if they paid, I think would have actually carried to like the Reagan administration. So it was a hefty sum, right? So Germany basically falls apart after World War I. The Weimar Republic, massive hyperinflation, things like that. Germany's a mess, and this sort of kind of lays the background for World War II, right? So a lot of communist parties are popping up in Germany as well. The KPD, kind of more in like the Bavaria region. Rosa Luxemburg, look that one up. They start causing a lot of violence, right, in the streets. This is not a good time to be in Germany, the interwar period. They confiscate weapons and things like that, like the communists, which were a certain group of people. They'll tell you that the Mustache Man's guys, your 2A American boomers will tell you that, well, this is what happens, they took the weapons. It's like, well, actually, you're kind of missing the first part of that story. So, anyways, yeah, I told you, this might be a controversial one. But before we get into World War II, let's talk about the flag. So, 3 equal horizontal bands. We got black, red, and gold. So these colors can be traced back to the medieval banner of the Holy Roman Empire. So you had a black eagle, black burb, with red claws and a beak on a gold field. So that's those colors. But yeah, after the French Revolution, a lot of these European flags become kind of basic, just like this. So not a lot to the flag, right? Easily recognizable. We know that's Germany, but let's draw the father of Germany, right? Let's draw von Bismarck here in our little bonus content episode. So just to finish off, World War II, the Mustache Man, he rises to power and kind of brings Germany sort of back out of the dark, because hyperinflation, cultural rot too. They don't talk about that. They don't talk about what kind of books the National Socialists were burning, right? They'll tell you it was like Bibles or something, which they were not. They were burning, like pornographic material. There's a lot of parallels to today, right? With when they talk about banned books and things like that, and you find out like it's basically filth that's like being peddled to to degenerate culture. So they were against that. A lot of sort of proto-communist, kind of literature and stuff. That does get banned, and it is worth saying. I'm kind of jumping all over the place here. It's worth saying that the German people are kind of like a very like sort of technocratic, very high IQ, kind of just a lot of great intellects, throughout the ages have come through Germany. Because of that, it was always kind of seen, like post 1848, and with the target targeted destruction of like the monarchies and, you know, bringing forth like democracy and whatnot. It was always seen as like Germany was supposed to be the communist state, right? Like if communism was going to pop off anywhere, it would have been Germany. But you know, with the absolute chaos in Russia, you know, post World War I with their revolutions, just kind of, it was easier to pop things off there, right? So, not for lack of trying, though. Germany did have a lot of communist parties, you know, and that those were squashed. A lot of them were, you know, during the Weimar years and the rise of the Reich. So yeah, World War II pops off. We don't need to get into all of that. I'm sure, you know, we're skating on thin ice here, but there's a lot of good books you can read on that. I recommend FDR and the New Dealer's War by a guy called Tom Fleming. That's if you're not ready for some of the more quote unquote red pilled type stuff, read him. He's a good historian, and yeah, FDR wanted war with Germany. Mustache Man did not want war with the United States at all. But FDR's cabinet actually saw Japan as an easier way to get the United States into World War II, right? So go read the Rainbow 6 or Rainbow 5 plan. It was not just, you know, the United States was just going about their business, and then they were just pulled into the war by these evil Japanese and German people. No, it was pretty much planned. I think it's kind of, can't really dispute that. So yeah, Germany, they do suffer defeat, of course, during World War II. And World War II, right, was supposed to free the world from the evils of, you know, the National Socialists, and was supposed to create a free and a democratic Europe. And, you know, this is kind of like an old Pat Buchanan talking point. You leave half of Europe under subjugation to communist Russia, right, the USSR. So that lasts for almost 80 years, right? So the Germans, their country is wrecked. They come back though, right? So Germany does split into an East and West Germany, right? The DDR and the Bundesrepublik. The DDR is the communist half, and it was kind of just accepted that, okay, you know, this is just how Germany is now, right? And Germany does reunify though, right? So this guy here, von Bismarck, right? Otto von Bismarck, the father of like unified Germany. I guess, you know, his ideas kind of had some staying power, right? Because yeah, even post Cold War and whatnot, Germany did come back together, right? Basically, because it is the same people, right? The Germanic people. There's a lot of history there, and you know, the East and West Germans were not different, right? You always hear, you know, kind of stories about that, you know, especially as the Cold War really, you know, kind of heated up, talking about how, you know, you got brothers and sisters, you know, like in Berlin, you know, across the Berlin Wall there, that basically can't like see each other, right? They're not ideologically like communist or anything like that. It's just this was how it was kind of forced on them, right? So whole lot of interesting stuff going on in World War II, but let's finish that story quick. So yeah, again, going into the 1990s, communism collapses. Germany does become reunified, bounces back economically because, again, you know, the Germans are just a very intuitive, sort of inventive people, right? Very very smart. A lot of technology comes out of Germany, a lot of intellects, and yeah, so they do bounce back. They're still kind of an occupied country, though, right? So they're, you know, they can never basically have any kind of military strength again. They can't. I think like the biggest fear now is that Germany and Russia come together, which, to be honest, could be like the only thing that would actually save like European like kind of sovereignty and identity. You there's a lot of like energy concerns there, but yeah, they're not allowed to deal with that bad man. It was okay for them to deal with the communists, but they can't deal with Mr. Putin. So, and yeah, so again, they don't really have any sovereignty. They're just another European country now, which of course, if you're German and watching this, I do not mean that derogatorily. I just I don't know. You know my thoughts on basically the global kind of American empire, and yeah, World War II was how long ago? 80 years ago, at least. And they're still, made to pay for that, right? Because if they have any kind of identity, then Mustache Man will come back or something, which is ridiculous thinking. But yeah, that's how this thing works now, right? That's how the world works. So who is Otto von Bismarck? It's German history, so I'm sure I forgot a whole bunch of stuff. But again, with a country that rich in history, you're going to forget stuff. You can only do so much in an episode. Otto von Bismarck kind of rises in the shadow of the 1848 revolutions, right? The Iron Chancellor. He was born in Prussia. Is kind of seen as like, again, the father of like German Unification. So again, a lot of different German states. The South was more kind of aligned with Austria, the Habsburgs. The North, going back to Martin Luther, more Protestant Reformation. There's a lot of wars of unification. They kind of make moves on Denmark, which sort of puts them at odds with like the French and then even Austria to a certain extent. And yeah, there's more of a move like because Bismarck is Prussian and he's not like anti-Catholic, but he doesn't want to put Germany like leave them at the whims of like Rome or the Habsburg dynasty of Austria, the Catholics. So there's kind of like a more Protestant northern German confederation, kind of skipping ahead here to the mid 19th century. Napoleon III, they has some territorial ambitions for Luxembourg, which sort of pops off the Franco-Prussian War. And then after that war, France gets pretty well, they get stomped, right? So I know there's kind of like a goofy sort of a version of history now where the French are like, the surrender monkeys or whatever. That's much more like of a recent sort of thing. The French military was one of the most powerful militaries in the world in the 19th century. And so, yeah, Germany gets a big confidence boost as a result of that war, unifies further. So the 1860s were a bit of a period of strife for Germany, but then 1870s are peace, right? So post Franco-Prussian War, the state is again unified, and under Bismarck, the Iron Chancellor, you see a lot of when I talked about the Germans kind of being an easy target for communism, and on paper they probably should have been the communist country if not for Russia, completely falling apart with the execution of the Romanovs post World War I. Germany, they institute universal male suffrage, right? They have a pension system, national health care, accident insurance. So basically, this is a welfare state, right? So the German welfare state, it's for Germany, right? It's not for the entire world. So they're kind of like a big what's the word I'm looking for? They're a big sort of like fertile ground for that sort of stuff. Yeah, and then even when the Mustache Man comes to power, he tries to implement a lot of that stuff. So I know people will tell you, well, he was a socialist, he was a leftist. No, it was Listian economics, right? So that's why that guy was on the cover of Time magazine, because he basically recovered the German economy in like 8 years and hypercharged it, where it took the United States like almost 100 years to do that, right? To really sort of have that gigantic national investment in your infrastructure, roads, trains. That was all very new. And of course, that was going to have a huge impact on manufacturing and stuff. So, yeah, you can trace that to Bismarck. He does have a bit of a crackdown on Catholics, right? Because, of course, and it is what it is, right? I'm Catholic, and I can see why that would happen, right? Because people were more religious then too. That might sound like kind of just trivial now, but yeah, it was a bigger deal back then. Cracks down on socialists too, right? So, again, the kind of like the boomer sort of worldview of capitalism at all costs. Now it's like, oh well, they have social programs. They're communists. It's like, no, it's like they're not leftists. It's can't view things in just economic terms between right and left. But sadly, that's kind of a uniquely American thing, and it's just kind of a relic of Cold War era thinking, right? And it'll go away eventually, right? That generation will die. They're shrinking, just like all previous generations, year by year, and we'll see what happens, right? If we have different ideas. So, Wilhelm II, Kaiser Wilhelm, dismisses Bismarck. I think this is like 1890 or 89. You can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. They were kind of like polar opposites. Wilhelm was kind of viewed as like a clown by Bismarck. Bismarck still remained politically active, right? He wrote, he made speeches and stuff, but he never came back to power. But yeah, that's basically his story. And again, the idea of German unification, it outlasted Bismarck. It outlasted the Cold War, because again, East and West Germany reunited, right? There was no war. They just shook hands and got back together over some beers, some bratwurst, all that good stuff. And yeah, Germany, again, a lot of rich culture and food, beer. I mean, what's not to love, right? We all love Germany. Okay, so that's Bismarck, and he's got one of those cool pointy helmets. I always wanted one of those. What's that point for? You know what? I didn't do my homework on that part. I don't know. Is it for headbutting people? It looks painful, but yeah, they look neat. Put that in the comments because I want to know. So that's Bismarck, right? The father of Germany. That's Germany, and we only got one more. I got it. I got the space for it right here. So we got one more in this project, and then we are done. So you know what we're doing next. Stay tuned. So as far as Germany goes, though, let me know what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you in the last video.